We all know a Romeo. It seems no matter what he's doing, he manages to fall in love. Goes to the grocery store, falls in love. Walks through the park, falls in love. Uses the elevator. Well, you guys get the idea. Normally, this puppy love is harmless. But sometimes, it can cost you everything.
Good evening, children. Tonight we're gonna talk about one of the darkest, loneliest, scariest, most disgusting things in existence. No, not death. I'm talking about being a teenager. So settle down and get ready to remember a most terrifying time.
It was an average Friday afternoon. Tom was sitting in math class. School would be over in 6 minutes. He sat there, bored out of his skull, waiting for the week to end, when something caught his eye. It looked like a picture. When school was over, he ran to the spot where he saw it and quickly grabbed it so no one else could. He picked it up and smiled. It wasn't just a picture. It was a picture of the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen. Her eyes sparkled. Her hair was elegant. And her hand made the peace sign, so you know she was a fun, down-to-earth kind of girl. She was beautiful. He decided he needed to meet her. Since the picture was near the school, he figured she was a student. He asked every one of his friends, every classmate. He even ran back into the school and asked his teachers if they recognized her. But everyone he asked said no. He was devastated. When he got home, he asked his older sister if she knew the girl. Maybe the picture was taken a year or two ago, and they had class together. But unfortunately, she also didn't know the girl. Tom spent the rest of the afternoon and evening staring at that picture until he eventually fell asleep. In the middle of the night, Tom was awakened by a tap on his window. It sounded like nails tapping. He was scared at first, but soon after he heard someone giggle. He saw a girl's shadow near his window, so he got out of his bed to investigate. By the time he reached his window, the shadow was gone, but he could still hear the giggling coming from across the street. He climbed out of the window and ran across the street, but by the time he got there, the giggling stopped. He looked around, seeing if he could spot the shadow again, but it was no use. He turned around and went back to bed. The next day, he ran over to his neighbors and asked if they heard or saw anything the night before. They had not. He then showed them the picture and asked if they recognized the girl, but they didn't know her either. Tom tried to put the girl out of his mind, but couldn't. It seemed like the harder he tried to forget her, the more she stuck. Tom again spent the day staring at the girl in the picture until he eventually fell asleep. That night, Tom was awakened by a tapping again. He wasted no time this time. He immediately grabbed the picture and followed the giggling. It moved faster this time, but appeared to be moving the same way it did the night before. He could hear it coming from his neighbor's property across the... He was dead, with the picture in his hand. The driver got out of the car and tried to help him, but it was too late. Suddenly he saw the picture and picked it up. It was a picture of a beautiful woman, holding up 3 fingers. Skype, the free, instant messaging, voice and webcam app that Windows 10 forces down your throat whether you want it or not. My friends and I have been using it to stay in touch since we all moved away for college. It was nice being able to see them on the laptop screen. Video chatting on a cell phone is fine when you're on the move, but Skype is nicer. It feels more like you're sitting around and hanging out. I found myself talking with Annie a lot. We both just moved into our dorms a few days ago. We were both single, and first semester wouldn't start for another week, so we found ourselves chatting pretty much every day. What we Skyped about wasn't hugely interesting or important. She bought new headphones. I watched The Princess Bride for the first time. It was just nice to have some familiar company. Anyway, I was out clubbing last night and was pretty groggy and hungover, but I was awoken by the sound of a Skype call. Cursing the fact that I left my laptop on and massaging my temples, I stumbled out of bed. Hello? My eyes struggled to focus on the painfully bright screen. Annie was, of course, dressed, made up, and grinning. My pounding headache aside, it was nice to see Annie first thing in the morning. She gave a cheery wave, to which I responded with a half smile.
Well, aren't you the life of the party this morning?
You should have seen me last night. My dance move put the whole club to shame.
Oh yeah? Is Baby Shark really popular over there? Hey, don't you have that getting to know you event with your RA today?
I glanced at my calendar, but the ink refused to stop squirming on the page. I assumed she was right, but even the small amount of sunlight that seeped into my gloomy domain was eye-watering. Yeah, screw that. What about you? What are you doing today?
Hoping to get a call from Erin. She just took off yesterday during a fire drill. She left a letter on her desk saying that she was going home.
Which one's Erin again? I asked half serious. You know how it is. Your friends talk about so many people that they just kind of blur together after a while. Annie made an unimpressed face.
My neighbor, she lives across the hall from me. She just vanished. I mean, it's only been a day, but we were thinking about calling her parents just to check up on her.
I shrugged. Do it. Better safe than sorry, right? Before she could reply, there came a sudden shrieking of an alarm. Annie said something which was drowned out by the noise, and I covered my ears, wincing. What did you say? She had to shout directly into the microphone.
I said that's the fire alarm. I'd better go outside or the warden will have a fit and make us do the whole thing again.
What time should I call you back? I asked, raising my voice as much as my pounding headache would allow.
Don't worry. I'll only be gone for like 5 minutes. I'll just leave Skype on.
With that, she was gone, pulling the headphones off and placing them on the keyboard. After a few minutes, the alarm cut out. Then I heard the door open. I perked up a little, ready to get back to talking. But it wasn't Annie. Whoever it was, they were wearing all black. My eyes were drawn to their hands. They had a black bag in one hand and a knife in the other. For a few seconds I just sat there, numbly wondering if Annie was playing a creepy joke on me. But it couldn't have been Annie. I snapped into action. What the hell do you think you're doing? Who are you? There was no response from the figure. It couldn't hear me. The headphones were still plugged into Annie's laptop. Instead, it just stood there. For a moment, it was taking in the room. Then it started looking for something in its bag. It pulled something white out and approached the desk. I fumbled for my phone. I had to warn Annie. The masked figure froze. Then, slowly and deliberately, it reached its free hand off camera. I squinted against the pixelated image. And then my heart sank. It was holding Annie's cell phone. She'd left it on her desk. The figure stared at the laptop, like they were inspecting it. Then it turned off Annie's cell phone and placed it beside her laptop. Before moving away, it put the white thing on her keyboard. I only saw it for a second. but it looked like an envelope. It wandered across her room to her closet, opened the door, and hid inside. I glanced down at my phone. I had to call the police. There was no question of that. But even as I dialed the first 9, I realized the mess this would cause. They would need to contact the police in Annie City, hundreds of miles away. I called anyway. I didn't know what else to do.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, I don't know how to do this, but my friend... I paused mid-sentence. I could hear the door open to Annie's room again, and watched Annie casually walk inside. She smiled as she approached the webcam. I yelled as loud as I could for her to run, and I could feel the tears pinching from the corners of my eyes. Annie didn't hear me. She sat down, picked up the headphones, and began to adjust the strap length. Just beyond her, I could see her closet door opening.
Hello, sir. Sir, where is your emergency, sir? Are you still there, sir? Sir? Sir?
Too bad about Annie. Too bad about Christine. Too bad about Sarah and Jenny. It took the school 2 weeks of female students leaving during fire alarms for them to think, we need to stop doing fire drills. This makes me especially worried. I mean, aren't these people supposed to be smart? Speaking of smart, it's time for this week's top commenter. This week's top comment comes from... Elkie! And it says, very spooky. I would have moved out right away. Your laughter always gives me the chills. I loved it. Thank you. Thank you! When I'm working on making videos, I'm thinking of all of you, my super horror fam. So make sure you all take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week.